Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast. It's been a while. I'm sorry.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Yes, the name is Mike's Daily Podcast, but I had, alas, to be what I was called to task, because I couldn't do my show. I had so much to do, and I didn't need to. I know you didn't need to know any of that, but alas.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It got a little bit out of my control, my venue, my purview, this podcast.
Mike's
and I was not able to
Daily
do all my
Podcast
shows because I have no excuse, really. Life is full of excuses. Everyone gives you excuses. You don't need any from me, so I will not give you any. But I will tell you that I accidentally walked in on another podcast. No, I mean, I didn't, just suddenly start listening to someone else's podcast, which I like to listen to podcasts. I've always enjoyed podcasts since about 2009 when I started discovering them. But I was in Podcastro Valley, and we are at Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. And this is episode 2682. I was walking around Podcastro Valley. I was near the Starbucks there in Posh Bagel. My lovely lady friend loves Posh Bagel. Not to give them a plug, but I'll give them a slug too, and that is bagels aren't that healthy for you. I'm sorry, they're not. Now, I used to eat the thing they had there called the kitchen sink, and that was way unhealthy. And I think I may have lost a few pounds just not eating that anymore. I eat the healthier one, but they're nice people there. I'm not going to give them a slug. Let's support the local businesses in the hometown of Podcastro Valley. But I'll slug Starbucks. That stuff is terrible. It's made by teenagers.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Who do not care at all about coffee or about making coffee. Maybe some of them are super nice and they want to be friendly and be cool, but Starbucks is just a empty carcass of what it used to be. Oh my gosh, I do not have any desire. I will go to one if I'm absolutely in the complete need for coffee and I can't get it anywhere else. So the podcast picture is of a beautiful day yesterday in Podcastro Valley, looking towards San Leandro. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. I was at this park. It's a new park that was put together by the Hayward Area Regional District, and Basil and I, the late great Basil, the boxer, and I once went there years ago. And they've developed this park a little bit more. I forget what it's called. It's not fully developed yet. It's still kind of a what is going on here, Wild West. But it's nice. It's another open space that we needed in Podcastro Valley. And it's got some beautiful views. And it was nice and cool. And today and yesterday and the day before. And then tomorrow it starts getting hot. Getting really hot. It's an hot October. Hot-tober is what it's going to be. Hot-tober in the Bay Area. I'm not looking forward to that. So, I'm walking over there with the Posh Bagel and my lovely lady friend, and sitting in front of the Starbucks on a really tiny round table are three guys, and they're doing a podcast called East Bay Insiders. And I take a picture of them, but that's not the podcast picture. I take a picture, and they stop their podcast, and I did not want to stop their podcast. I did not want to interrupt them. I did not want to intrude. But they suddenly went, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm a podcaster too." "Oh, what's the name of your podcast?" "Mike's Daily Podcast." Of course, they instantly forgot that. "Hey, what's your name?" "Mike Matthews." "Oh, okay, cool. And what's up?" I go, "Look at this. You had 3 microphones set up, nice microphones, nice microphone stands." I don't know what they were recording into. I think it was one of the smartphones. There were 3 smartphones on the table, and I think it was connected to one of them. So I have not heard I don't think they have posted yet the podcast that I accidentally mic bombed, not photo bombed, but podcast bombed. And I can't wait to hear myself because I am that kind of a vain person, and that's why I do Mike's Daily Podcast.
Ridiculous random hosts.
Try and alleviate some of the insanity for you in this world. So it was fun, and it inspired me because that means more people are podcasting. I used to never see anybody podcasting ever in public, and I think that is the first time. And I've been doing it since 2009, so it's good to finally see somebody podcasting. And I said the thing that I always say on my podcast. Yeah, it's great to see a podcaster here in Podcastro Valley. And they were, Podcastro Valley, that's good. I said, yes, you can borrow that.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Was that Daffy Duck? It's mine! So I had a good time with that. But you know who's not having a good time? It would be Senator McCarthy. Yes, he is from California, Kevin McCarthy. And he is the House Representative Leader, Majority Leader guy. Well, Matt Gaetz, who's a Republican from Florida, said about the Republican from California that he plans to move forward this week with an attempt to oust him after the House late yesterday approved a clean stopgap funding bill to avert government shutdown. He said, I do intend to file a motion to vacate against Speaker McCarthy this week. I think we need to rip off the Band-Aid. I think we need to move with new leadership that can be trustworthy. He said this on CNN. Wow, a Republican on CNN. That's insane. That's like never happening ever, but I guess it did. You know, hey, I hate shutdowns. I don't work for the government. I feel bad for all the people that don't get checks. I do think that the media does make it absolutely insane. They report on it way too much, like they tend to do more and more these days. Like the hurricane that we had, the one I can't remember the name, that had a bizarre name earlier this year. And they were, it's gonna completely destroy Florida, and it did do some damage, but not nearly what they were expecting it to be, with their nonstop wall-to-wall coverage. And then it ends up being something, So the media overblows, and it always does. It always has done. So that's nothing new. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. But just know that you're seeing what they think is going to get eyeballs. As disgusting and unnerving that is, that they want to collect people's eyeballs, but that's apparently what they want to do. Okay, because it is October now, and we can do creepy, kooky, spooky things like that. McCarthy and Gaetz got in a heated exchange during a Thursday morning conference meeting with Florida Republican, with Matt Gaetz accusing the speaker of paying influencers to attack him on social media. Gaetz has been threatening to introduce a motion to vacate, a mechanism to oust a speaker if McCarthy were to back a bipartisan stopgap funding bill, which he did on Saturday. So we'll see where that gets him. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the Beau Bear, those three, they are, wow. They're just sort of watching a dumpster fire. And, you may love them. You may say, that's where we need more leadership like that. But yeesh, I don't think these are the most soundly rooted people on the planet that we should throw all our votes and our campaign money behind. Well, someone else I'm not the biggest fan of either is Gavin Newsom. He is our governor. But he did do something that Republicans, if they don't cheer this, they're blind and they're afraid of scaring their base. Like, hey, you're not really a Republican. If you just said that you think Gavin Newsom made a good move, you shouldn't compliment him. He's evil. He's gruesome Newsom. Well, yesterday he vetoed a bill that would have allowed workers on strike to become eligible for unemployment insurance benefits. That is definitely something, if it would have been passed, it would have been, oh, wow, we are such a Democrat-ruled state that if you're not working and you're striking, you still get money. Where is all this money coming from? And, we're also the state that there's a part of the government trying to push reparations. Where is all that money coming from? Well, yes, we are one of the biggest economies in the country. And we do have a lot of country, but we have a lot of money, but we also have a lot of debt. We have a lot of stuff that needs to be done here. And quite frankly, we don't have to have such high gas prices because they're adding all these fees to that.
The Newsbleed section.
I don't, they say as it goes in California, how it will go the rest of the country. Some of the stuff that they're trying to get passed, don't see how that is going to fly anywhere. Anywhere east of us. But in his note to the California State Senate informing them of his decision, Gavin Newsom cited the state's high UI debt, unemployment insurance debt, and said the state is not collecting enough in taxes to fund support the fund. To fund in taxes to support the fund. Somebody wrote to fund in that sentence inappropriately. That came from The Hill and MSN, as did the last article I was reading from. That came from MSN. He says, making it vulnerable to insolvency. The fund. Not getting enough taxes, the unemployment insurance benefits to fund that. The fund is supported through a tax that businesses must pay on each work, but the tax applies just on the first $7,000 of workers' wages, which is the lowest amount under federal law. Interestingly. Wow. You would think that in California they would be, using all the tax money to help everyone that's in need. But not so much in California. The repressed Associated Press reported the financial structure has remained unchanged since 1984. Wasn't that back when we had a Republican governor? Yes, we have had Republican governors before. People think this state is so blue, but they really forget that there is so much red in this state. It is not just a simple cut and dried, oh, California is such a blue state. Trump just had some big rally somewhere. I forget, I think, was it down in Anaheim somewhere? And he had a bunch of people turn out. And, he's going to try and do the thing with getting in the electoral votes, getting it so that he's the main Republican candidate. But back to Newsom, any expansion of eligibility for unemployment insurance benefits could increase California's outstanding federal UI debt, projected to be nearly $20 billion by the end of the year. And that could jeopardize California's benefit cost ratio add-on waiver application, significantly increasing taxes on employers. Well, at least Gavin is keeping an eye on the money. And I will probably be the only one in the world of talking and blabbing and gabbing and blah, blah, blah that says anything positive about that move. Because liberals are going to hate it. Republicans are going to ignore it. Because if they mention anything in a complimentary way about it, they're going to get, oh, you're not a Republican.
What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week?
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat. Wait, does it pertain to Led Zeppelin? National Black Tie. It's also National Homemade Cookies Day. I did have a black dog when I was a kid. It was a German Shepherd Husky mix.
What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week? What's the cliche of the week?
October 1st. It is okay. National Black Dog Day. And what else? Sorry, I just got lost. This computer has a crazy firewall on it that will not let me click on things quite quickly. Black dogs are less likely to... Oh, really? They're less likely to be adopted for no other reason than their coloring. Regardless of behavior, size, breeding, personality, or age, the phenomenon persists. So... Hashtag National Black Dog Day. You find their behavior is no different from dogs of different colors. They fetch, play, wag their tails just the same. So yeah, that's an interesting thing, that black dogs are not adopted as much. So, and of course, we should always adopt from the shelters. Only from the shelters. Let's see. The Obamas had 2 black dogs, Sonny and Bo. The first two, the 2 first dogs were Portuguese water dogs. Remember that? Okay. What else? So today is also National Hair Day. That doesn't mean much to me since I don't have it. Just a little on my face, but nothing on top of the head. I mean, there might be some peach fuzz up there, but that's it. National Homemade Cookies Day. That might as well be National Burnt Cold Chunks on a Cookie Tray Day for me. I'm not the best at making cookies. And National Pumpkin Spice Day. What? Pumpkin Spice back? Look who's back. Pumpkin Spice is back. Sorry, Starbucks. You're still going to get business because people want that dang pumpkin spice latte. Ugh. Hate you, Starbucks. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this on October 2nd, by the way, which you probably are since I'm posting this late in the day, it's National Name Your Car Day. Why on earth? Well, I have not named my car. If I did, I'd probably just name my car Gray.
Wow, Shuts, wow.
Gray the car. And that's because the car is blue. No. Well. Anyway, Café Anyway. It's just a thought. And tomorrow, the first Monday in October, is National Child Healthcare Day. Make sure to get your children over to a doctor. A good doctor, not a bad doctor. Not a mean doctor. Kids they're already scared by doctors. And you're going to give them to a mean doctor? No. Don't do that. And, one last one. It's National Custodial Workers Recognition Day. Let's hear it for the janitors. Even though we call them custodial workers. Let's hear it for them. Yay. All right, one last thing. Shall we get to one last thing before we wrap up this part of the podcast? Because we're going to get to the wonderful segment called Let's Go Back with Matthews. Oh, interesting. This just was sent to me from Google. If you listen to podcasts, which you're doing it right at this moment, you are listening to a podcast, so thusly, you do like podcasts, apparently. Well, I got this from Google. Hi, Mike. They called me by my name. It made me feel really good when they did that. They emailed me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. Recently, we announced that Google Podcasts will be discontinued next year. We wanted to reach out directly with more information on what to expect. For now, nothing's changing. Oh. And you can continue to use Google Podcasts as normal, which I am on Google Podcasts. Over the coming months, podcasts in YouTube Music will be made available globally, and we will start rolling out tools that will enable you to transfer your podcast show subscriptions from Google Podcasts. In YouTube Music, you'll be able to listen to your podcasts like you did on Google Podcasts. No paid subscription required. If YouTube Music isn't for you, there will also be an option to download a file for your show subscriptions, which you can upload to an app that supports their import.
What in the world was that about?
That's all very complicated. Most people won't even do that. The point is, the Google Podcast app is going to disappear. It's going to no longer be updated, similar to, I think, what's happening to the TikTok app in that one state that's banning it. It can't be updated anymore. Instead, you will start needing to use YouTube Music, which is not YouTube, the YouTube app. It is an app that is called YouTube Music, and it is all based in music. It's basically Google's way, since they own YouTube, to go against Spotify, which you can also find this podcast on Spotify. You might have to scroll all the way down. A friend of mine was trying to find me on Spotify, and I was standing right there, and he was scrolling down. I'm like, oh my gosh. You typed in Mike's Daily Podcast, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. He's scrolling down. I'm so far down the list.
Baloney.
That was my slug. And my plug and my slug. Google says, we acknowledge that this is a big change and want to thank you for being a loyal Google Podcast user. We'll reach out directly with more details over the coming months. In the meantime, if you have questions, go to the help community, blah, blah, help community, which is no help at all. So there, that is on the horizon for next year. Now, about a month ago, this was an interesting bit of news, that Disney wants to pour billions into their parks and cruises. Bob Iger wants less streaming and more screaming on Space Mountain. They plan to invest $60 billion into their parks and cruise businesses over the next 10 years, because cruises are back. Presumably to secure a cruise ship-sized lifeboat as its streaming business continues to struggle. This from Rob Black. I produce his podcast, The Rob Black Show. He's on the radio in the Bay Area on AM 1220 KDOW. He's on the television on KRON weekday mornings. But what else here? Oh, Disney just suffered its worst summer box office performance in years.
It's pretty interesting.
Their transition into the 21st century media landscape has not been well done. Its streaming business lost close to $4 billion over the past year. The writers and actors' historic labor strike disrupted it, and they are looking to sell ABC and FX. Byron Allen, who was a comedian in the 80s and 90s. He did that interview show. One of the best interviews I ever saw with Chris Farley was with and Tom, who was the guy that was married to
The Mic Tip.
Tom, I can't think of his name now. But yes, he and Chris Farley were hanging out with Byron Allen at a mall. And Tom said something to Chris Farley, like a little joke, a little jab about his weight. And Chris Farley did his typical where he blows up and he talked at this volume that was insane. Like Pavarotti couldn't reach this volume. It was like a level
Mike's scavenger hunt.
threw your hair back, even if you were watching it over the TV, and even if you were a young Mike Matthews in his 30s and still had hair. It was blowing my hair back the way Chris Farley is like, I will destroy you! To Tom Arnold. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Byron Allen, a very funny guy and a very smart businessman. He wants to buy ABC from Disney. Luckily, Disney's tourism business, once pounded by the pandemic, has become something of the happiest place for Disney. The parks and experiences generated 80% of Disney's operating profit. I had no idea it was that big. Despite accounting for about only a third of total revenue, the parks and experiences revenue increased over 10% from the past year. It's now at $8.3 billion. And that's mostly due to growth outside the U.S. Orlando's Disney World saw a dip in operating income.
Matthews News.
While Disneyland's business just barely ticked up. Remember, Disneyland in Anaheim, California was closed all during COVID, barely open towards the end, barely. Just Gavin was really, Newsom was, no, we're not going to have anybody assembling, not that many people, close the churches, close everything down, got to wear masks, and he was deathly afraid of amusement parks opening again, so it took a long time for them to do so.
The Myclopedia Insanika.
They did allow some places like zoos to open. I remember I went to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, which has a huge animal park as well as an amusement park. But the amusement park was shut down because that was not allowed by Gavin. However, we could see the animals. And I remember it was shortly after the late great Basil the Boxer had passed. And I needed to be around animals, to feel that animal energy that I was missing from not having Basil around anymore. So it was a wonderful trip. I remember it was a birthday trip from my lovely lady friend in 2020. And the giraffes, the lions, there was, zebras and stuff. It was just awesome. Oh, and sea lions. We fed the sea lions. That was awesome. And the seals. Disney temporarily closed about a month ago because a black bear was in the park.
News random.
That was the park in Orlando. Somehow a black bear was on Tom Sawyer's Island. But they shot the bear with a tranquilizer and took him off, and he was supposed to be taken somewhere to, I think, the Osceola Regional State Park or some huge wilderness area. And speaking of pets, Walmart's opening pet service centers because, we as U.S. citizens and consumers, we spent almost $137 billion on pets last year. Vet care and services was up by $36 billion. Walmart has sold pet items like food, collars, medications for decades. I remember when I got the late great Basil the Boxer, I got his first leash and collar and bowls, eating bowls from there. We stopped at a Walmart on the way to pick him up back in 2009. So, dipping their toe into more lucrative services, they're going to have veterinarian visits and dog grooming appointments. Walmart will offer a range of services, wellness exams, nail trims, teeth cleaning, haircuts. While you wait, you can shop in the store. That's the whole idea. Walmart's Pet Services Center will have its own dedicated entrance and own employees, so you'll go in through a different entrance in the Walmart. Will you still have a greeter? Yes. Maybe somebody in a dog costume. That would be cool. They should do that. Kohl's. Yes, Kohl's. It still exists. Has started to devote space to pet items in some stores. You walk into a Kohl's, it looks like a hurricane hit. You don't know what anything is, where anything is, what is going on. Is that the actual price? Why are they selling peanut butter in a Kohl's? That's what I want to know. Makes no sense. Why is there chocolate powder for chocolate milk in a Kohl's and candles? And I don't get it. Kohl's confuse me. Plus, we have a radio station in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, called KOHL. And so that makes it even more confusing. Is it a radio station? What? Lowe's, which basically is Kohl's, where you take the name and you flip it around backwards. Isn't that what it is? Or they both seem similar, those names. Announced that it's expanding its mini health and wellness shops that is connected with Petco. And Petco, when you're a first-time pet owner, Petco's pretty cool. There is one in Podcaster Valley. But I was always more drawn to the place called, what's it called? Pet Food Express. and that's like a local chain. But those seemed like really cool people there working at that place. Now, the holidays are on the way. You may not want to believe that, but it's true. Amazon is hiring 250,000 holiday workers. That's up from the 150 Amazon added last year. It touted record sales over the Thanksgiving weekend. They are expecting a hectic season. They're getting sued by, was it the federal government for anti-monopoly stuff? So it's going to be a hectic season for them in all manners of different issues. And over there, the other tech guy, the other guy part of the FANG stock. Is he part of the FANG stock? FANG is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Okay, I guess he's not. Elon Musk. He's recruiting patients for their first human trial with this thing he's got called Neuralink. The company is building a brain implant to help patients with severe paralysis and severe degenerative diseases. So that should be interesting. Wow, if that is successful, he's Mr. Future Man, isn't he? And I find it fascinating that he was once married to a British actress who was on Doctor Who in the one when they're in the library, and she's like the first person to get killed. But now they got married twice, and now she married somebody, and I can't think of her name. I think it's Tallulah something. She's married to the kid from Love Actually who plays the drums, that's living with the Liam Neeson. And he's like, oh, I feel so bad that your mother died. Oh, why don't you play the drums? But they're so loud, but I'm not actually your father. So the U.S. national debt surpassed $33 trillion for the first time. I know you didn't want to hear that, but that's the okay. And there you go. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Oh my gosh. Do you know what else? If you may even be listening to this on the 3rd. I just want to say, if you are, because I just saw into the future, it is National Boyfriend Day. So hey, I guess if you're a husband, maybe this also pertains to you, but I am a boyfriend to the lovely lady friend. I don't know if we're going to celebrate, but every day is National Boyfriend Day with my lovely lady friend. And it's also National Fruit at Work Day. Trying to get people to eat more healthy, I guess, and bring their fruit to work. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, Luke is here. Hi, Mark! It's Benita the Rodeo Queen! How y'all doing? I brought my horse down!
That's Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
She said she brought her horse, Nelly.
I know, but you know what? I find that's killer. And I love bats, but sometimes I feel haunted by you, Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Maybe it's a fear. Maybe it makes me scream. Maybe it makes me want to take a knife and come at you like Psycho and wear a costume like a clown.
I have no idea what you were just saying.
I don't either. Look who else is here.
Oh my, I make delicious root beer. Here's some
Alas, I will have some.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here on this show. This is great.
Oh, that is so good.
I put some pumpkin spice latte in my root beer.
I think you said you put some pumpkin spice latte in your root beer?
Yeah.
Well, it's better than spiders.
I know. Drink it right now, I'll cut you.
Oh, the fright. The fright I feel because you just said that. Okay. Let's do the segment called Let's Go Back with Matthews.
Let's go back with Matthews.
Oh, we're going to go back in time to when radio was cool and there weren't any podcasters yet and there was nobody, you know, nowadays people do audio, any kind of audio entertainment. It's always, it's an afterthought.
Mike ripped someone a new one.
They're more interested in the video. It's all in this Twitch world that we live in, this TikTok world or whatever.
Mike's absolutely useless review.
So this is before all that. This is 20 years ago. Here's a little bit of a country show that I did. I was a country request show. and we got some interesting calls. People actually called radio stations back then. And you can call me, by the way. You can call this podcast here at Café Anyway, 510-228-4640. But here's a little bit of a show I did called the Kehei Santa Fe Cafe on the radio station Kehei in Ventura County.
100.7 KHAY with Kehei's Matt Michaels.
Yeah. You get all kinds of people calling in, Katie.
Really?
Yeah.
You have like some people that just like call you every night? Just like, hey.
Yeah.
Remember them?
Yeah. I know some people's names, Katie.
Oh, really?
Like
you
Katie.
pretend to remember some people?
No, I actually remember them.
Really?
I have dreams about them at night. I don't know what they look like, but I just know their voices. So I dream about their voices.
Oh, really?
It's like there'll be this faceless voice that suddenly appears in my head when I'm sleeping.
Really?
Man, you never played my song last night. I'm going to eat your brain.
It gets a little scary then, Katie.
Then you wake up sweaty.
Shania Twain with Brian White from this moment on. Joe Nichols singing The Impossible ahead of that. Martina McBride is next, and the Kehei Santa Fe Cafe, the Kehei Cafe question. When you brush your teeth, do you get paste everywhere, or can you keep it mostly in your mouth? It's probably...
Oh, that's right. I think I've played a little bit of that for you, but not that particular segment. Boy, I am probably going to get dinged because that was In Excess, Suicide Blonde in the background. Great song, great album. X by NXS. I don't know if you've heard the rest of this.
Panel 1 says KT Oslin's Bobsled.
What? KT Oslin was a country singer. Oh, we must be doing the country quiz here. Okay, let's see.
Phil Vassar's latest CD, American Child, which came out very recently, featuring the huge title track hit, 650 KHAY.
Watch your mailbox.
Our contestant is Tony from Ventura. Tony, let's look at the quiz wall and pick a topic from our 3 panels. Panel 1 says KT Oslin's Bobsled. Panel 2 says Toby Keith's Big Teeth. And panel 3 says Patsy Cline's Sassy Shine. Which one do you want?
Toby Keith.
Toby Keith's Big Teeth. Tony, the video for Toby Keith's You Shouldn't Kiss Me Like This featured Chadwick Pelletier from A, Hee Haw, B, Road Rules, C, Survivor. Which one, Tony?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Stay on the line, Tony. 650K can try and steal the prize from Tony. But if you get it wrong, she gets a prize.
Buenaventura Medical Group is pleased to announce the opening of Buenaventura.
What is the answer to that question? Poor Toby Keith. Oh, I feel so bad for him. He's hanging in there, but he's having to deal with cancer. So he's looking a lot thinner, but he did perform at a recent awards show recently, so all the best to him. He's a tough guy. He's a strong guy. I can see him getting through this, but it's terrible that he had to go through it. Anyone going through that is terrible. All right. Well, let's find out about Toby Keith.
Okie doke. The country quiz. Katie from Santa Paula going to try and steal the prize from Tony and Ventura. Katie, the choices were A, Hee Haw, B, Road Rules, C, Survivor.
C, Survivor.
C, Survivor. Oh, no, actually the answer was B, Road Rules. That means you get the prize by default, Tony.
Yay!
From Ventura, enjoy the Phil Vassar.
You get when you cross a person with a disability and a...
Think of Us is Nashville by the Sea, 100.7 KHAY Dixie Chicks there. We heard Rascal Flatts ahead of Dixie Chicks. And about the time you hear Michael Peterson's Modern Man, you'll have another chance to win Anthony Smith's new CD, If That Ain't Country, and get qualified for the KH trip to the country, where you can win a trip to Knoxville, Tennessee, and hang out at Dollywood and a bunch of other fun things. So that's coming up very soon, right about the time we play Michael Peterson's Modern Man is what we'll do at the Santa Fe Cafe. I'm at Michael's. That's our engineer who just walked in, John Deere, the engineer. Hi, John Deere. Matt, I really have to tell you to get off the microphone right now. Oh. Yeah, back off the mic, Matt. I have to tell you to do that because I need to reconfigure.
Oh, just like a typical engineer trying to work with the equipment as I'm using the equipment. John Deere. In radio, you always have the engineer pops in and says, I got to do this and take you off the air. Wait, what? I'm in the middle of my show. Oh, well. So that is a little bit of that from the KH days in Ventura County, California. And now a little bit earlier than that.
Some people call
in the 90. This is 91, early 90s. So about 10 years before that, this little thing was happening at a radio station. I think this is with Y97.
Designing Women, the Golden Girls, Murphy Brown, or the Wonder Years. I hope either Designing Women or Cheers wins. I don't know. If you would like to tell me which one you think's going to win, give me a call. Our number is 965-9797. Janet Jackson now on Most Music, Y97.
Janet Jackson. That was the Rhythm Nation album. That was huge in the late 80s, early 90s.
Y97?
Cheers, no question.
You like Cheers, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And what's your name?
Brian. I'm working at Nautilus.
Oh, down there you're pumping weights and everything?
Yeah, just working. Actually, I worked out too while I was working, but yeah, I'm just relaxing now. It's pretty boring, so.
Okay, so you thought you'd give us a call. Yeah. And, there's always a place where everybody knows your name, Brian.
Yeah?
And that's Cheers.
No, that's for sure.
What's your favorite radio station?
You guys, Y97.
Oh, that was a Huey Lewis song that nobody remembers anymore. A couple days off. Because Huey Lewis was still coming out with songs in the early 90s. But everybody just remembers his 80s stuff. Oh, it's so
Comedy
sad.
Radio AM 850 and Stephen Wright there from...
Oh, so I've told so many people about Comedy Radio that it was an AM station I worked at, KMDY. Like, you're trying to spell comedy, but those were the call letters. And they don't spell comedy, but it kind of looks like comedy. So we played all these comedy cuts that were on cassette. So it was stand-up material, Stephen Wright, Steve Martin, George Burns. It was old stuff, old-time radio stuff, like the old days, the comedy shows like Jack Benny, and even some Monty Python. There was a mishmash of all, and songs. There was comedy songs, too, like Weird Al Yankovic stuff. Here's a little bit of that. That station, though, ended up dying by late 1991. So this is definitely, wow. That I even have this is amazing.
The album I Have a Pony. And Mike Matthews here. How you doing? How you doing? That's good. We got more guffaws and chortles of laughter on the way. But don't forget, we have something called Comedy on the Town with Duke Ford and Jimmy, letting you know what's going on, where, and how you can get the most out of your evening as far as laughter goes. They're going to be coming up, I'd say really soon.
Oh my gosh!
The bottom of the chart.
Pretty good songs that never made it on the radio because people didn't think they were worth it. But you know what? They come back up and people start playing them, and it's like, oh, where'd that come from?
Some people call him precocious.
Well, what am I supposed to do here for all this time? People expecting a comedy show here.
Some people call him witty.
Well, welcome to the comedy show where our topic is lost. Leonard Nimoy.
59797. A lot of requests for this. This is Motown Philly from Boys to Men.
What the heck just happened? I thought we were going to hear Duke Ford and Jimmy. That was the thing that I did. I think, was that some kind of character thing? Like I do here on the podcast? That was one of my early character things that I did on the radio. but sadly it did not record that. Okay, one more thing from Y97. That was a hot, what was it? What format was it? Contemporary hit radio is what it was. It was hot, hit radio, hot charts, hot. Casey Kasem type stuff. Early 90s in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara's Hot FM was Y97. It has long been deceased. It was KHTY were the call letters for the HT for hot and hit radio. And here's a little bit more of that from 1991.
Pardon me. Most Music Y97, that is Boys to Men and Motown Philly. Going to kick off another 15 in a row after this with the latest from After 7, James Brown and the Escape Club. So keep it right here.
Most Music Y97.
The Fiesta celebration. Oh, man. We had After 7 and Boys to Men. We had so many great songs on that station. Oh, my gosh, and the Divinals.
Most Music 197 and Mike Matthews on a Sunday evening, cranking out 15 in a row. Ooh, we're dancing now. Yeah, James Brown's latest. This is Move On Y97. Yeah.
Does anybody remember James Brown Move On? That is long lost track of James Brown. Everybody remembers the classic James Brown stuff, but not that one. But he was still putting out stuff even in 1991. And this is pretty much the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Our look back in time, going back with Matthews. Let's say we'll do this again soon. How about that? And if you would like to call me and tell me your thoughts about anything we covered today, 510-228-4640.
Will you shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Foam for All.
And with more ways to reach me, it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.